So we'll start today's session with Mr. Robin Tommy. Robin has been working with several customers across several countries and continents with purpose-led research, design-based solutions, digital technology innovation, and sustainability inception. He has been known as a digital technology metamorphosis expert, social innovator, collaborative innovator, and digital transformation strategist. And he was awarded the most coveted distinguished engineer by Tata Consultancy Services. He is also the winner of the most coveted Universal Design Award by the National Center for the Promotion of Employment for Disabled People. And Robin is also the co-founder and the chief digital advisor for Inclusive Oak, a foundation, and vice chairman of IEEE RAS Kerala section. Robin has filed more than 90 patents in utility and design and has published 25 plus research papers in IEEE and ASEAN. And he's a TEDx speaker and has delivered more than 20 keynotes at various conferences. Today he's going to be delivering a keynote address. So let's welcome Mr. Robin Tommy with a huge round of applause. Come on.
Good morning, Gucci. Morning. Morning. Okay. So I have just 30 minutes. So I don't know whether I will complete in 30 minutes. It's based on how we are going to interact. So I'm just going to talk about something very different. Okay. It doesn't have anything to do with, I would say, a developer perspective. But you can reimagine how this can be done. So there's some food for thought. There are certain things that we are going to discuss in this forum, how we have done certain things, how we have been doing certain things for the social cause. Okay, I thought this might be a good topic to start here. So before we even start, I just wanted to understand a few concepts that you know. Have you heard about social innovations, or social cause, social purpose, social inclusion? Any of these? So what is that? Social innovation means. Any idea? If you don't answer, I'll be waiting for an answer. Okay? I've traveled so much to come and meet you guys, and you're not answering. It's not fair. What is that? What do you mean by social innovation or social cause? Is anyone working for any social cause here? Nothing? Something that is relevant to society. Great. At least we got an answer. Any others? Any causes that you have seen near your home, near your colleges? How many of you have worked with NSS? Okay, great. What did you do for NSS? What is that? Campaigns, great. Drug awareness campaign, okay. Isn't that a social awareness or a social cause?
Yes.
What are you trying to do? To eradicate the use of drugs. Great. Any other causes that you have worked for with NSS? Technology related? Okay. Great. So we are going to see here, I think, so this topic is a bit new for all of you. We are going to see something, how technology is being used for social inclusion and how Google is supporting us in that journey, or how we are working together with Google on that from the data's perspective and also from the government perspective, all those kind of things. Now, every social innovation, anything that we refer to social, it has a lot of aspects in it. It's not easy to go to the society and say that I can make change in the society. I know, why did you go through NSS rather than going alone? Why is that? Going alone might not make sense because people might not accept you unless and until you are a huge influencer in the society. Else, NSS is a brand which always can help you in doing that particular activity because they are famous for social causes or social inclusion. Now, Same concept has been applied back to the datas, where there is a lab I come from, which is called the Rapid Labs, and also I look after something called the DISC, Digital Impact Square. So we have a specific formula before we start engaging or trying to empower the stream. We have 3 words that we put in, which is called the engage, empathize, and empower. Engage means what? Like NSS that you have been doing. You go, you make the awareness first. Okay? That's how everyone does. So first there is a set of things that you need to do before you can start anything there. Then we start with a very important word that's called empathize. In a very specific field, because here I'm going to bring in a very specific field called differently abled. Have you heard the word differently abled? What is that? How many differently abled is there in this group? Yeah, I know, I saw some of you, great. Anything else? What is differently able or specially able? In Malayalam we say is Visheshal Shesh. What do you mean by that? Are you able to follow all of them in the back? What do you mean by that? Have you heard about autism? Cerebral palsy? Okay, great. Muscular dystrophy. It's a very, very discussed term in Kerala almost a year back for a medicine. You might have heard of it. People were collecting money for medicine for a muscular dystrophy child. Almost 2 to 3 crore of rupees was required for a single dose of medicine from Pfizer. Okay, so it's a hugely discussed word now. Down syndrome. Okay, so there is a society which requires a lot of support, not only from the awareness perspective, but also from a technology perspective. So what we are trying to do is that we engage with them. We try to bring a lot of empathizing with them to understand what is their actual requirement from an assistive devices perspective or assistive technology perspective. How many of you have heard about the word assistive technology? How many of you use it? At least 1 or 2 assistive technology. In your mobile phone, there are certain assistive technology tools. Have you enabled that at any point of time? In your Apple had this wonderful advertisement during the World Disability Day. I don't know how many of you have seen that. December 3rd. If not, go and see it. How a mobile phone can be so assistive to people who need it. Google has a lot of platforms. I don't know how many of you know it. Any platforms you know from assistive technology perspective in Google? Be louder, guys. What is that? Google. When I say assistive, you said Google Assistant to me. Yeah? Come on. Anything else? TalkBack. Great. What is TalkBack used for? For whom? Low vision and blind. There is one more application called Magnifier. How many of you tried it? Have you seen Magnifier? Or what is Magnifier for? Specifically for low vision people, people who are having cataract. Those are all assistive tools. There is a very beautiful application which does a speech to text inside your Android. Do you know that application? Award-winning application for Google. What is that? What is that? Don't say Google Cloud speech to text, okay? Not Google Lens. Google Lens is also very helpful for people, but for dyslexia, dyspraxia, etc. Okay, Google Lens is used. Anything else? What is that? I can't hear you guys. Keyboard. Gboard. No, keyboard. You have, this is an exercise for you guys. Okay, it's a wonderful application. You just take this application, just put it here now. When I am speaking, you can see all the speech to text happening. And not only that, it will also give you what is the environment noise system. That is, a speaker is speaking in his auditorium. It will be able to identify that. And that's the catch of this application. Just search for it, guys. It's a very beautiful, fantastic application by Google, which is used by millions of people. Do you know who is that? Hearing impaired people. Or low hearing people. Okay? Use this application. Millions of people are using it. It's a very beautiful application. Even it can talk in Malayalam. It can convert all your. When I say in Malayalam, it will understand Malayalam. It will do that. If I talk in Hindi, if I talk in Tamil, it understands that, and then it will show it. And we do it at all. Tamil Nadu, Malayalam, it's a very fantastic application. On the try this, and this will be useful when you try speaking to hearing loss or hearing impaired people. It's very important. Okay? Try to use these tools when you encounter people who are having one or the other disability. So that is what we try to empathize. Is that enough? Then comes the most important part of it, which is the empowering part of it. Now, what do you mean by empower? Now, you have a tool. You have told a hearing impaired that there is a beautiful tool from Google. Why don't you use it? But for using it, you need to support them. You have to tell them how to use it. You have to train them, skill them. And some people cannot use everything. That's why it's called differently able, or specially able, or gifted people. Or we even call them as divinely able, because they have some kind of a different capability. So you have to convert all these kind of tools for them in a different way. So we have been doing that. Several tools are there. There's a very beautiful application by Google. Again, I don't know how many of you have used it. It's called Switch app. You don't see that just like that. You have to go to and enable that for people who are having muscular dystrophy, cerebral palsy, who are completely affected with stroke and are on the bed. How do they communicate using a mobile phone? Have you seen? They do that using a switch, single switch. A single switch can be used to operate a complete Android mobile phone, even a Microsoft laptop. Single switch, just a switch in 1, 2, 3, with a sequence of it. Just look at that. It's a beautiful way they have developed it for people on bed. There is almost like 3% of society who is completely on bed because of accidents, coma, different stages of life. We are all blessed that I can walk and I can speak to you. But there are people like this. Almost 10% of the society is neurodiverse. Means they are either autistic or they have multiple disorders or cerebral palsy, muscular dystrophy, all those kind of things. So there's a lot of technology for them that's coming up. But there's a lot of things that we need to do together. Okay, all the story which I'm going to tell you, because it's all stories that changed our lives, to think for them and start developing something using technology for them. It all started 10 years back when we visited a special school in Kochi. In Tripura, there is one of the biggest special schools here in Kochi. We were visiting the school like 10 years back. We were looking at what is happening in the school. Look, we never knew, okay, what is that? Only school I visited earlier was the first special school in Kerala, which is in Pangapara, Trivandrum. But we wanted to study, okay, how are those people? I don't know how many of you have had a specially able friend with you. I never had. So my team, we had a team of like 5 people. We visited the school 10 years back. We visited in the sense we just wanted to see the school. Because there was a lot of people asking you to come to the school, just spend some time with the children. So we went there. So there are children from almost like 4 years to 18 years, 19 years. We call them as children because their brain development is a bit low because of learning disability and all. So we were there for a day. So we reached almost like 9:30 a.m. there. We were spending some time with the children. So we found that the parents are coming with the children there. So almost like 90% of the parents will come with their children. They will be carrying their child or they will bring them in an auto rickshaw. And they spend their entire day in that school. Entire day. One of the parents. Okay. Usually mothers. 85% I saw mothers spending their time completely there with their child. And out of this 80% or 85% of parents, what I could see is that when we were interviewing, almost 65% come from a very low income background. But they are very afraid that their child might run out of the school. They might, when this child is exposed to certain attributes or behavioral issues, then they will start crying like anything. So it's very difficult for the teachers or the therapists to stop that. So what will happen? The parents has to be there because when they see the parents, they will stop it. So that was the situation. So we saw that almost like 90% of their parents, they were standing in that sun because they didn't have place inside the school to stand. In the sun, in the rains, we could see multiple times when I go. And the most difficult scenario is almost 75% in our statistics when we were, I was traveling across India to understand this. We found that the husbands leave when they see that he has a differently abled child. They just leave the house without even saying to his wife that I am leaving. So the entire burden comes to whom? Home. The mother. So she's fantastic. Okay, every mother of a special child, I would say, is really fantastic because they are getting dedicated to that child. And I would salute them because it's a completely different environment. I don't know how many of you have met such mothers, but they're so bold and they have done a great job for the child. Now, when this happened, we were observing. So now tell me, look, I'm not going to take you through the technology journey or something, but now you have to tell me the psychological problem here or the social problem. Look, I told you it's a social innovation or a social inclusion. Now, what is the problem when the mother is spending most of her time in the school? What will happen? You know. What is that? She would have gone to work, but she cannot go to work. So what will happen? There is no income for them. So most of these families, they will only eat one time in a day. Only one time. The children all will eat one time in a day. But they eat well in that time. But that's the only way they can survive. Because they don't have income. But they have to make sure their child is being sent to school. Several reasons are there for that. Now, many children were coming there, so I was deviated from the story. So that day I was observing like almost 70% of people inside the school are cerebral palsy children. Rest of it are autism, IDD, they had all other kinds, dyslexia, dyspraxia. Then for cerebral palsy or any kind of differently abled, especially in this particular segment, they had a problem that they had to go through therapy on a daily basis. Okay, you know that when we have broken our limb or leg, a hairline fracture, the pain that we go through, it is very difficult for us to even walk. I had a friend of mine who broke her leg. It took her almost like 5 to 6 months to come back and understand how to walk. Okay, because your brain is very I would say, neuroplastic. It has to relearn whatever that you have lost learning during a long period of time. But in the case of cerebral palsy and every kind of differently able, they face a challenge because they don't know how to walk. And if they don't walk much or don't do certain exercises on a daily basis, spasticity would be a problem for them. Pain would come to their body and they can never ever move. So that is a problem that we have been facing today. Now, there is a room in most of these special schools which is called the physical therapy room. Okay. In this physical therapy room, all these children will be brought in and they will go through from 3 years to 15, 20 years, people are there inside that room. So on that day, we could see almost people in the range of like 3 to 10 years. So there was a 5-year-old child who was actually crying like anything because of the pain that he's going through. Okay, and he started running out of the room. So this is where, what happens? The parent has to come. Because he's afraid and he started saying, I don't want to come to the school. Okay. Because there's a huge pain that he goes through. So school means what for him? What is that? It's a symbol of pain. I'm giving you the social connections here. So there is pain there. There is no job or no money coming out. So there is a lot of stigmas attached to a special school when people start going there. Okay. Now, that day, same day, we were actually having lunch there with the children. So I met a person called Nirmal. Okay, this was Sharon. There was another person called Nirmal. So Nirmal's mom, she had two children. Out of this, one was Nirmal. Nirmal was having cerebral palsy, spastic cerebral palsy, specific area of cerebral palsy. So she was feeding him. So they need to be fed. Okay. So while she was feeding, I was just curious, asking her, was just talking to her. I was asking her, why don't you ask Nirmal alone to eat? She said, I'll show you. Then she started sharing her story and she said she's already a stage 2 cancer. Her husband left her. And this is the only child. I wanted to see him leave even after me going out of this world. So emotional, I would say. But finally she asked Nirmal to eat that food. Okay. So during noon time, how do we eat rice? We make it small balls and eat it. She made those small balls on the plate. Okay. And asked Nirmal to take each bowl and eat. Problem of cerebral palsy or spastic cerebral palsy is fine motor issues like Parkinson's. I don't know how many of you have seen Parkinson's. When you start concentrating on something, your hands start shivering, your fine motor starts shivering. It's called athetoids. Okay, so it starts shivering in such a way that he started taking it and he started shivering. You know what will happen when you have a ball of rice in your hand, you are starting to shiver. What will happen? Nothing will go to his mouth, no? But 2-3 grains he tried. He wanted to show me that he can do it. He was so motivated, since I asked this question, he wanted to show his mother that it is possible for him to eat. And he started. He showed me. 2 grains of rice went in his mouth. Great. So they have dreams in their life, very small dreams. For us it is very small, I would say, because his mother told he has to eat by himself. Look, my dream is that he has to eat by himself. He has to live by himself if she is not there in the world. This is Sharon, another example we took from there. Because I'm just showing a few examples to you because my timeline is also very less. So Sharon was a brilliant person, but he's completely on wheelchair. So he had to be started moving because his mother told otherwise it's very difficult for him to bring him to the school because these people were living on the 4th or the 5th floor of an apartment which is doesn't have a lift. Okay, and it is very difficult to bring him to school. She has to carry mother how many days she can carry him. Okay, because he was gaining weight and all those kind of stuff. So she said her vision or dream is to make sure Sharon can walk sometime or climb the stairs at least to come to the home as well as to go to school. So make him independent. So this is how the program started. So we developed a small technology around it. So this is how Sharon walked, okay, with the support of a caregiver. So this is like almost like after a year we started this program. So this is how he started. He was trying to walk, I would say, but while walking, these people doesn't have any motivation, no coordination, they will fall down. Because since they fell down, they feel like they cannot walk ever. Because they're not complete, their coordination is completely different. So at the noon, we were with all those children, we were doing something. So one of my friends were actually playing Angry Birds there. He took his phone after the lunch, so he started playing Angry Birds. What happened is that many children came near us. They also wanted to play Angry Birds because most of their parents don't give smartphones to them. So we just gave it to them. We wanted to see how they play it. To our surprise, we saw that so fast they started playing Angry Birds. And we thought, why don't we try something for the children to motivate them through gamification. So that's how we started the journey. We invented a specific technological intervention for them, which is today called VHAP, which is working in almost like 10,000 plus people who are using it, differently abled, which has made walk people across India, made people eat by themselves across India, but improving their neuroplasticity concepts in the brain. So we just work with the brain. We just try to improve their neuroplasticity and the neurogenesis process. Have you heard about neuroplasticity, neurogenesis? Any idea? Okay, so in your brain is very, I'll come to that later, but your brain is really different in the sense it's like highly plastic, so it can learn any shapes and any forms. So we try to feed the brain in a very different way, in a much deeper manner, to make him understand that it's not that you cannot walk, it's just that you're not motivated to walk or you're afraid to walk. Remove the fear in your brain. So in order to remove that fear inside the brain, we just bring a different mode of application to that. So how many of you have seen Avatar? First one? Great. What is Avatar? What is that whole film about? Is it about an avatar? Isn't it a transformation? Of what? What is that? Who is transforming there? A human is getting transformed because of what? He had a limitation. What was his limitation? He was not able to walk. It's not that he cannot walk. He had to put a lot of effort to walk. Okay. Now what happened in the avatar world? Why he wanted to be completely in the avatar world? He felt like he was empowered in that world. Same concept. Avatar gave us that particular inspiration to bring these people the motivation that you are all able in a different world. So you can see, this is how Sharon is practicing few things. So we had 3D depth cameras, we had few games developed for them, and we started marking their body, pointing it out. So we had used, very recently we are using the Google Pose algorithm. I don't know how many of you have heard about it. There's a 33-point Google Pose algorithm with which we are marking their entire body, and we are trying to find out which part of the body is moving, which is not moving, how the body should move. We apply AI algorithms to it, understand to what extent I can push him to move. So Sharon started moving. Sharon felt like in that avatar, we developed an avatar for Sharon. Okay. So in that avatar, he felt like he is very powerful. He can do whatever that's possible. But what we did, we knowingly or unknowingly made Sharon do certain physical therapy so that he became a part of an avatar. Okay, and that avatar helped him to grow further. So almost 2 years it took. So now you can see, okay, before I go into that, now you told about gamification, all this technology that you use for humans. You have to understand it's not just technology that changes the world. Technology helps in doing certain things, but finally it has to go to your brain. Now what is actually happening? All of you brush your teeth in the morning? Yes or no? Yes. Why did you do that? What a question. Any reason? Fun? Or who urged you to do that? Did someone, your mother told you to brush and go? Never. I have a smaller one. Okay, I have 3 kids. Second one is a girl. Okay, it's very difficult to make her brush. You will not even catch the brush. You will start throwing it to me. But those pushing her like any other household, you have to make her brush. Why? In all our life it was like that. In our early stage of life, like in the 3 to 6 years, it's difficult for us to brush because any habit is formed as like that. Every company is actually getting into your brain through a very specific organ called basal ganglia. Okay, now I'm going to be most psychological because any technology that you build, if human has to use it, it has to become a part of your cerebral cortex and the basal ganglia. Now what is basal ganglia? If you are brushing your teeth in the morning, if you are bathing, if you are having your breakfast, it's because you are basal ganglia is okay. It is telling you in the morning, do this habit because you made, that habit has formed in your brain. There's a very beautiful book by Charles Duhigg, The Power of Habit. Read it so you'll understand how people started brushing teeth. Actually, you know who initiated that challenge of brushing teeth? The Department of Defense in US. When they were recruiting people, when they were doing the interview, they said that this kind of a smell, because those days 1800s, people never brushed their teeth. It was too smelly. The Department of Defense gave a report to the government of US saying that we have to make them do something to reduce the smell. That's where the challenge started. You know why people started actually brushing teeth? There is some reason behind it. No? Anything that you do today, there was a reason behind it. Okay? It's not that brushing teeth was because your mother told you to brush your teeth or your parents forced you to brush your teeth. No. They had got it from their grandfathers or the grandparents, whatever you call it. What is that? In those days, 1800s, the army, most of them go to the army, you know that. That was one of the major income source. You know what was the food that is eaten by the army people? Any idea? The kidney is the hearts of animals. You know why? What is the reason behind that? Those days, is there people who don't understand Malayalam here? Okay, sorry, I'll then explain it in English. In those days, actually, you should have a lot source of protein because you have to walk a lot, you have to do a lot of muscular things. So you should have a lot source of protein in your body. So people have to eat kidneys of animals, heart of animals. Those are the mostly wanted, I would say most market rated stuff in the market. Today it's like no one wants it. But earlier days, like the intestine, the heart, the liver, all those things were very important for people. And the army people were fed with that. And they are fed once or twice in a day so that they can walk miles. They have the energy to do that. Now eating these things, what will happen? Your teeth decay will be very high. So that is one reason why the Department of the Defense started this journey. Do you think that those days there was no toothbrush or toothpaste? There was. There were several toothbrushes, several designs. The Pepsodents have been existing from that time, okay? But no one used it because they didn't have the motivation to use it. So there was a lot of advertisements started. But do you know why do you brush your teeth today? There was one major reason which Charles Tubik, who was in that particular committee, who made this happen. You understand? What is that? Why do you brush your teeth? It's not because of the close-up ad where Ranbir is dancing and saying, okay, this is something you will get after you're brushing your teeth. No, sorry. But what is that? The mean effect. That smoothness, some kind of a tingling effect that happens in your mouth. That actually, because of that, there is a chemical inside your toothpaste, and all of the toothpaste have that chemical to make sure that you come tomorrow and again brush it. There are people who brush morning, afternoon, and evening just to get this tingling effect. Okay, so that is one that attracted many people. It's not the white teeth or the smell. Smell is again a factor by product, but that's how it started, and that all went into your basal ganglia, which made you that a habit. So similarly, like the Uberization or any product that you use today, even Google, if you see, Google has several clinical psychologists who work around human to understand what kind of technology should be developed for them. Uber has almost 15 clinical psychologists how a particular product should be embedded into your mind. Google has much more. Facebook and Meta has several of them. That's the reason why you're all addicted to either or their Instagrams or any kind of applications. Reels. How many of you use Reels? Don't say it. Some of the hands are not going up. Now why? Why do you use Reels? Why? Your dopamine is improving. Your dopamine, because everyone is working around your dopamine in your brain. That's why you use Reels or the Snapchats or whatever you call it. Okay, YouTube Shorts. Because TikTok started that journey. Now, what we did also is similar thing. We developed that patented stuff for children with disability. And okay, sorry. So before that, I'll just introduce myself. This is me. I believe you have already understood. This is my third one, COVID child. So I do all my research with him. Okay. So you see a brain computer interface on his head. So I actually try to understand what is happening to him when he's doing certain activities. So that's how I get so a lot of inspirations. Every child I do research, okay? So that's why I have 3 of them. Don't take it in the other way. Okay. Okay, so that's why I love him a lot because I'm actually going through a very different crisis because I have a sickness called triple PD, okay? At any point of time it comes in. So when I see him, I feel like I'm so empowered. And when he calls Appa, my dopamine gets released a lot in my brain. Okay, so I have a dopamine shift, very huge shift in my brain. Dopamine is very important for your growth. Dopamine and serotonin, these are the two, because I'm using medicines for that. So that's it. Now let's see how Sharon walks because of this change in last 4 to 5 years. Did you see him walking? So this is what the change technology has brought in Sharon. He comes to school alone, just to play this rehab. Now, what has changed? I'm not saying technology is the only thing that made a change there. Technology changed a lot of things in that school today. You go to the school today, you will see that only 50% of the parents are coming there. And that is because of the new children that got admitted. They have to come. So what would happen to the other 40%? What happened? Vanished? Where did they go? They started leaving their child there and they started going for their work. They started earning. That is what technology made, and that's called social innovations. Okay. Second, these children would love to come to school. No one needs to push, because earlier it was like, I cannot come to school, it's painful. Now they just want to play this. So that is an early intervention tracking that we could do on these children to make them play. So they come to school without any complaint, they stay there. They don't want their parents anymore in the school time. So that actually gave them a lot of time to go for their daily. Now said that, now let me go to the portals we have. You can search around it in Google. We have TCS or we have Barclays, because Barclays is supporting us in this journey. So how did we did this? There's a lot of technology behind it. I already told you. The latest we have is completely, if you saw this, we have had 3D Devfest cameras like the Kinect from Microsoft. Now we replaced everything because Kinect is no more available. Okay, we thought we use RealSense and stuff, but it's very costly for a parent to afford that. So now anyone who is having a normal, because Google did that, the POS algorithms. How many of you use the Blitz POS? You should use it if you have not. A wonderful algorithm for digital therapeutics. We use it a lot in the TCS startup group. I have almost like 5 patents in that area alone, where we just customized and differentiated a complete thing in that particular area. Digital therapeutics, where you can do a lot of change with Blitz POS. This is the algorithm called, which can track your entire body using a normal 2D camera, web camera. So that is what we are doing with today's parents. So we give this application free of cost to all the homes of specially abled or differently able. Now how we did this, the innovation process is there for 6 weeks, we were analyzing it 4 weeks. I'm not going very deeper into this because that doesn't make any sense for you. Now next one. So I wanted to discuss with you how something is getting changed in the world using technology. Look, technology was just an important, it's like a fine-tuning factor. But we never did business with this. We have a lot of businesses similar to it with some other customers, like for insurance and all. But for them, we have given this everything free of cost. So almost like 6,000 homes we have it. More than 15 NGOs are using this particular stuff. A huge change is observed, at least from a physical therapy perspective. Any questions here? I've not completed, okay, I'll take another 10 minutes. Any questions? Okay. Now let us see another person called Anugrah. Okay, Anugrah is a very brilliant man. Now he's learning in Sacred Heart. He's doing his master's there, bachelor's there. So when I met Anugrah, this is what. Sorry, we are just connecting the audio once again. So this was Anugrah. We were doing this rehab in the school. So we found this guy on a wheelchair. So he came to us. He was just looking at us what we are doing. So we explained him. We couldn't understand anything what he was asking us or talking to us. We thought he was understanding. He was just nodding his head to whatever I was saying. Later he started asking something to us. Okay. We thought he was just making some noise. He started asking this again and again and again. Later on, he felt so angry that he started crying. And we had to call his mother. His mother came in and she said that he was asking for something. Now let us hear it from the horse's mouth in the next one. Is it ready? Are we connected? Can you say me what he was saying? Once again? I am Anugrah. He was introducing yourself. The communication is the biggest barrier in life. And most of you know that, okay? If you're not able to communicate, if you're not able to tell your ideas outside clearly, This is nothing other than that. It's very difficult. Okay, Anugrah is almost like 20 years old now. When I met him, he was like 17, 16, 17 almost. So he was talking to us, he was saying all his stories to us. We never understood what he was trying to say. We always nodded our head to make sure that he feels empowered, because I never wanted to make sure, we never wanted to make sure he feels bad. But we never understood what he was trying to say. That's why I recorded this. I asked Anugrah, can I record it? I'll show to people outside. He said, okay, fine, record it. Okay, so that's recorded. I just wanted to bring this because there are almost like 8% of the society who are facing difficulties with communication. He's a, I would say, intellectually brilliant person. He can learn anything that you say to him. And even after that, he had to fight with multiple managements to get an admission in a college. And finally, I had to push by several people to get him an admission. Okay. Now said that, so communication was the biggest issue. So now this is very important here, because you cannot just develop a technology and go to a person and say that, hey, use this technology. People will never, they'll say, okay, fine, good. Then they'll throw it out. Okay, that's how technology. You cannot make a person do that. There is a classic example which you can read about MRI machines, how an MRI machine was completely changed for a child who was detected with leukemia, was never ready to go through the MRI machine. She was afraid. You know the MRI machine. Even my mother, once I wanted to take her to MRI machine, she was excited to go there. Have you seen MRI machine? Have you heard the sound of that MRI machine? It's like you will be afraid, the big sound that comes out. A child was actually taken. This was very long back when GE invented it, and Philips and GE was doing this studies. They thought that, look, any MRI machine, anyone will go through. But the child was reluctant to go through that in US. So what happened? Rest is history, I would say. There was a design thinking initiated from Stanford for this particular equipment, and they made that child go through the MRI machine without even knowing, making her know that it was an MRI machine. That's how it was done, even without sedation. There was a jungle book created for her. It's a very huge story, you should read that. It's a very inspiring story. Today, that's how in most of the US country, like developed countries, use MRI machines for children. There is a specific MRI machine which is like a jungle book or any stories that would say. So they go through a storyboard and they will be placed inside the MRI machine, because placing inside the MRI machine is like another role play, and they will be brought out. So that's how we do that. So for us, Anugrah or any people like Anugrah is a Wonder Woman. So what is Wonder Woman? Have you seen her gadget on the top? So the power comes from there. So we wanted to make sure, we wanted to tell Anugrah that you are also a Wonder Man. Okay? And we are going to give you a gadget to make you look that. So we portray them, we write stories around that, and we bring Anugrah to that stage. And this is how we develop that particular evolutionary product, I would say. This is called Assist 2. Again, you can search for it in Google. Assist is given free to people who are having challenges in communication, especially with cerebral palsy, because Anugrah was cerebral palsy. Otherwise, it's easier for them to communicate. They can write, they can type, but here I cannot type, because the only part he can control is this finger. That's the only thing he can control. Rest of it he cannot control. So this was the evolutionary journey that we did with him. Almost 2 years we took to identify the right requirement. Almost 500 people went through this. That's how the last product got into the market. Now, what is Assisto? And Google is supporting here. I don't know how many have heard about the Project Relate of Google. Have you heard? You should hear about it. Fantastic project for people having slurred speech. Okay, slurred speech is a very big issue now after a coma or a stroke. If many people are going into slurred speech, when they speak, we won't understand. So Google is working on that. We are providing a lot of samples for it now. I'll come to that video last. So this is what is this, and now you can hear how Anugrah was asking. I told you one thing. I never told you after that what was that. Anugrah was asking for something. No? It was not I am Anugrah. He was asking for something. Can we hear that? What is it? He was asking this question for so many times. What is that? We got it. It's a much refined version that we got from it. Iniki vellam വേണം. This thing is asking for a glass of water. We never understood for half a day. His parent had to come and say us that he was asking for a glass of water. But today we learned something that we should help people like Anugrah because there's nothing for them. Okay, so we developed a device called Assisto which can understand what he is speaking. Let's see what he's saying.
Can
you hear that? How much clarity with which today he speaks. We have taken his vocal track information. Have you tried the deep fake algorithms? How many of you? Great. But don't use it for faking. Use it for good purposes. This is what we use it for. Okay? The audio component we took from his vocal track. We took his mother's and father's voice. We combined it. We created something for him in a device. Today when he speaks, the device would understand what he's trying to say. And that's what Anugrah was able to say. Now let's see a video on that.
Very much enjoyed session with Manu and Robin sir from TCS. Happy to hear his own voice and also to hear clearly whatever he communicates.
So that's the product Assisto that we are giving free of cost to many children across the globe. Thank you guys. So we are trying to make their lives a bit different. I don't know whether it's a very small footprint, but whatever we could do for them. Now, the next is going to be a project again, Euphonia.
Very good. The general speech
This got no speaker.
but if you do stand as most of people, it will not understand to you.
No one's ever collected large data sets of people whose speech is hard for others to understand.
People who have multiple sclerosis for years, who have stroke, who stagger.
They're not used in training the speech recognition models. And the game is to record things and then have it recognize things that you say that aren't in the training set. Dimitri recorded 15,000 phrases. It wasn't obvious that this was going to work. He just sat there and kept recording.
We need to make all voice interactive devices be able to understand any person who speaks to them.
You can see that it's possible to make a speech recognizer to work for Dimitri. It should be possible to make it work for many people, even people who can't speak because they've lost the ability to speak. The work that Shanxing has done on, voice utterances, from sounds alone, you can communicate. But there might be other ways of communicating.
Most people with ALS end up using an on-screen keyboard and having to type each individual letter with their eyes. For me, communicating is slow.
Steve might crack a joke and it's related to something that happened, a few minutes ago. The idea is to create a tool so that Steve can train machine learning models himself to understand his facial expressions. To be able to laugh, to be able to cheer, to be able to boo. Things that seem maybe superfluous, but actually are so core to being human.
I still think this is only the tip of the iceberg. We're not even scratching the surface yet of what is possible if we can get speech recognizers to work with small numbers of people who learn lessons which we can then combine to build something that really works for everyone.
To understand and be understood the effort on doing your work.
So this is a project we are working with Google on creating data sets and making sure that every communication is worth to be understood and to be understood. Okay. So this, and you saw that application also. This application is already there in most of your mobile phones. Just check that out. Okay. That's the assignment which I have given you. Now I think almost we have come to an end. So that's Anubra. So I just wanted to show him today. He's having his he's doing his bachelor's. And with that, we have won several, I would say, awards and stuff. But more than that, the happiness that we could create in people is the biggest thing. So these are some of the NGOs we are working with. And these are some of the people whom we have changed their life, almost like 10,000 plus. So the 4 different examples which I told about, the first one you can see from that photo itself. She's able to walk without crutches. Second is Nirmal, who is able to eat with his own hands today. Third, Sharan. The last one is Divya. Divya started her journey on wheelchair, now slowly moved to the crutches, and that's it. Thank you so much, DVG, and I believe you had a wonderful thought process going in your head. Any questions? Any questions? If no, thank you so much, and thanks to everyone inviting me to the session. Believe tomorrow you will also change the world. Join us for this journey.
Thank you, Robin, for your amazing session. So, in order to hand over the token of appreciation to Mr. Robin, let me welcome Vaishnavi Baliga, the GDG and Women Tech Makers organizer. Thank you. Okay, so here is our first session. And next,